In this video, I'll show you how to map your org into SonarQube using the Azure DevOps integration found within SonarQube. There will be 4 parts to this video: the integration setup, the user authentication, the project onboarding, as well as the pull request analysis and decoration. After logging in, you'll land on the main project screen where you can create a project, select more, go to Azure DevOps, and this is where you can enter your configuration. You'll be able to do the exact same thing under administration. Under the DevOps Platform Integration section, there's a Azure DevOps section tab, and click on Create Configuration. This will be the same modal that will drop down. So let's head back over to the previous place where we wanted to enter our configuration. Over here, give this configuration a meaningful name, and this will be what your whole configuration will be saved as. A URL also over here, as you can see, that I took from my Azure DevOps instance, and as well as a personal access token. Click on User Settings in Azure DevOps, and go to Personal Access Tokens, where you'll be able to generate a new access token. Click on New Token, give it a name, and this token will be used for all project integration if using the UI. I'm going to set for 90 days. Take note that you have to give it the code read and write permissions. So over here, I'm going to select the read and write permissions and then create. Once I press create, a token is generated. I'm going to copy this and paste it inside my personal access token field. Press save configuration, and this whole configuration will save. Paste the same token in and press list repositories, and you'll be able to see your Azure DevOps repositories loaded. Next, we'll cover the authentication options available, which will be SAML and LDAP. For the SAML authentication flow, you can go under Administration, Authentication, and then the SAML section over here. And this is where you can authenticate users into SonarQube using the SAML protocol. Since Azure AD also supports SAML, you can then connect Azure AD and SonarQube together to authenticate users into SonarQube. You can follow the step-by-step guide available in our documentation that shows you how to do exactly that. In addition, you can also integrate Keycloak as well as Okta via SAML to authenticate your users into SonarQube. Next up is LDAP. You can actually use LDAP and configure this in your sonar.properties file too to connect your LDAP servers to your SonarQube instance. And this allows you to then use the users inside your LDAP servers to connect and to authenticate into SonarQube. We allow group synchronization, and more than that, you can use this piece of documentation to configure your SonarQube instance with your LDAP server or LDAP servers. As you can see over here, you're able to use multiple servers. And note that authentication will be tried on each server in the order that they are listed in the configuration until one succeeds. We'll move on now to talk about project creation options. There are 3 options available. The first of which would be to create a new project via the SonarQube UI guidance. Next, you can use the SonarQube API to programmatically create projects. Lastly, you're also able to automatically create a project via the first analysis by defining the sonar.project key inside your sonar-project.properties file, or by defining it as an option when running your Sonar Scanner CLI command. Once you come into the SonarQube main project page, click on Create Project and then the Azure DevOps button. However, before that, take note that you have to go over to Administration and then General. Scroll all the way down until you find the server base URL. Over here, set the base URL to your URL of your SonarQube instance without the slash at the back. As you can see, I've already set it. Head back to your projects and you can safely create and onboard your Azure DevOps project onto SonarQube. Since you've already connected your Azure DevOps instance to your SonarQube instance earlier on, you'll be able to then see your projects as well as the repositories inside each project. In this case, I'm going to connect the Node.js project that you see on my left. And over here, I can select my new code setting. I can use the global setting, or I can specify the previous version, number of days, or reference branch to be used. But in this case, I'm going to specify the global setting. Click on with Azure Pipelines in this case, since I'll be using Azure Pipelines, and install the SonarQube extension by clicking on the link, press on Get It Free, and this should install your SonarQube extension into your Azure DevOps organization. Take note that this adds Sonar-related functionality to your Azure DevOps instance. In this case, you can see that I've already installed it. Over here, press Continue, and then it says that you have to go to Project Settings, Service Connection, add a service connection of type SonarQube. On the left, you can see that I'm going to the Service Connections, Create Service Connection, and I'm going to search up SonarQube over here. I'm going to paste in the server URL. Note that I've set this earlier on in my administration pane. This is why that server URL was able to appear. Now generate a global token and copy that and paste it into the field over here. The token is allowing Azure to connect to SonarQube, and this will be used for all pipeline runs that leverage the same service connection. For this service connection name, give it a meaningful name because you'll be using this later on inside your Azure DevOps pipeline. Alright, once you're done, I will want to grant access permissions to all pipelines, in this case for demo's sake, and I'll press the save button. In my SonarQube instance, press continue, and since my project is a JavaScript project, I'll click on the JavaScript option and I'll follow the instructions over here. Normally, you will have to create a pipeline, and this will generate a Azure pipeline.yaml file. So this is a Node.js project. And you can see that over here, I already have one that I've created earlier on. I'll update the project key following the instructions over here. Click on the edit button, and I'll update the project key value over here. Next, ensure that the service connection name that you've set early on is the same as the value over here in this pipeline file. So head over to your settings, service connections, and over here you see that the name of the service connection is Joshua Node.js service connection. So update it to make sure that this service connection is correct. Press commit and commit the file. Once the file is committed, you can see that your pipelines will begin to run. Press continue. And as you see the pipeline run, you can just wait for SonarQube to be updated. And there we go. As you can see on the screen, your analysis scan is complete and showing on SonarQube. And your pipeline on the left has finished running. Also, take note of the new code definition, where the measures on new code will appear only after the second analysis of this branch. Next up, we'll talk about pull request analysis and pull request declarations. So open up your Azure pipelines.yaml and add a wildcard pattern for your feature branches. And notice that I use a star over here. Stop the pipeline from running because whenever you commit, it would definitely trigger a pipeline run. And so I'm going to create a new branch, and over here, this will actually trigger a pipeline run, which is the baseline scan for the branch. So over here, you can see on the right side that I have my baseline scan for the branch. Next up, you will need to add build validation for your branches. So head over to branches, go over to your main branch, and note that build validation has to be done on the branch that you want to merge your pull requests into. So go over here, click on branch policies, build validation, and as you see over here, you will note that ensure all of your pull requests get automatically analyzed by adding a build validation branch policy on the target branch. Give it a meaningful name and press the save button to save your build policy configuration. You might see an Azure DevOps error, but this could possibly be an Azure DevOps bug. Ignore this error and just press save. I'm going to create a file over here. I'm going to call it sample file. And after I commit, the pipeline should be triggered. You can press the create a pull request button over here. And this is where you will create a pull request. After that, you will see that a pull request pipeline job has been started. And once it's done, you'll then be able to see the pull request analysis that has been run. Also, you can see that there are different icons for, say, the main branch, the pull request, as well as the feature branch. Okay, so this is the pull request analysis. And you can even click on the Azure DevOps icon to go into the specific pull request. And this is where the annotation will be added onto the pull request. If you require any further assistance, we recommend that you go to sonarsource.com/support, where you can review your support options, including our free community support, as well as commercial support if you've got a commercial support contract with us. And I'm sure that our Sonar Sourcers will be happy to help.